Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Lisa, also known as the AlkaliYogi. And although you've seen me now for several months on my other channel, Takeste and Jones, this is my first time back here in my own space. So today I'm starting a new series called Car Coaching. Coaching in the car. Well, truth be told, I'm always happy to take suggestions. So if you have a better name for what I should entitle this series, please let me know in the comment box below. Because what this is going to be going forward is just an opportunity for me to sit and chat with you all, and share some of the information that I've acquired, whether it be through mentorship, some of the information that I've acquired through my studies. I'm still very much a student, and just through living, right? I've been here for several decades on this here planet Earth. So I think I've got a couple of things to share, but I'm still learning. And in fact, this space should be about us exchanging information. And if you've listened to my podcast before, Her Healing Hour, then you know that I've always kind of wanted to hold that space for us to have a free-flowing conversation. Because whilst I'm very passionate and I think pretty well versed in ways to, live a more holistic life, I know that I have far more to learn than I know. And that's why I want to stay open, and I want to assure you that I'm here to listen as much as I am to share. So please take this opportunity to reach out to me either in the comments below, or you can email me directly at AlkaliYogi, spelled AlkaliYogi @yahoo.com. It's in the description box below. You can also reach out to me via the gram, where I'm also known as the AlkaliYogi. Again, spelled AlkaliYogi. All right, so today for our first part of our car coaching series for this here year, 2022, let's chat about, drum roll, hydration. One of my favorite topics is hydration. I have a lot of favorite topics: breath, movement. All of the 6 foundational principles as taught to me by the Czech Institute are actually all some of my favorite topics. But seriously, water I'm especially passionate about, because like our breath has been attacked over the last 2 years, right? Because we've had to do this. Water has also been under attack, under fire, under siege, if you will. No cap, as the young youth of today would say. Water is what we are made of primarily. We are not solid matter. It appears that way to the naked eye, but actually we are a bunch of atoms and cells moving around at a very rapid pace that makes us look like we are solid matter, but we're not. And part of our makeup is hydration. It's the H, the 2, and the O. And because of that, it's important that the water that we consume is in alignment with the water that we are made of. Our nature, us being nature, the water that we are made of is natural. So I want you guys to think long and hard. Does it make sense that if you are A, from nature, and you are B, natural, that you drink water that has been loosely branded as such, that has had anything else added to it? Sometimes we just have to stop and think about whether things make sense or not. This is oftentimes why I believe that I'm truly an old soul. I'll give you an example as to why I believe that I'm an old soul. Because so much of the stuff that we are told just doesn't ring true to me. But then on the flip side, I can also say, with all honesty, that I can also be quite naive, which I guess makes me human. Isn't that in fact what being a human is about? It's that polarity, right? It's that yang yin, that masculine feminine, that strength and vulnerability. that rigidness, the flexibility, right? It's all kind of part of the dual sides that we all have and that we need to have, because contractually, that is what we agreed to, what our souls agreed to. And it's also universal law. You have to have warmth to know cold. You have to have day to know night, right? You have to know cold. Well, I guess we've already covered that. You get the gist. You need to know dry to know wet. So that is to say that, yes, I can be quite an old soul at times, in that I don't believe a lot of the things that are fed to us, that are served to us, especially from bodies and groups that identify as corporations or governments, all of which have an extremely long history of being criminal in activity and unethical and immoral. Don't believe me? Just a little bit of history research. This is truly not about getting political. It's really not. However, I will say this. To me, right? To me, you either know a little bit, just a little bit of history, right? And you don't trust your government, or you don't know any history at all and you trust them fully. To me, if you know even just a little bit, because I'm not a historian, not by any stretch of the imagination. I don't pretend to be, I don't preach to be, but the little bit that I know that there is a long list of government being in, nefarious or convoluted or criminal activity, being in criminal activities involved in or affiliated with corporations. And that's not hard to see. There are documentaries, there's even stuff on YouTube and Google till this day that they haven't removed. It's even in Hollywood entertainment. We've seen this story play out. I'm not really sure why it hasn't landed for more people, that you should really question everything that is spoon-fed to you, because the people that we quote unquote vote to serve us, unfortunately, are just mere humans who are susceptible to lobbying, corruption, bribes, and we've seen it play out in history more times than not. Literally, more governments have blood on their hands than not. Literally, more governments have participated in some form of genocide at some point or another than not. Prove me wrong. Literally, we know that governments have created forces with big tech, big pharma, and everyone else that is all about centralizing power and wealth for a very small minority group of people at everyone else's expense. This has been documented. This has been proven. This has been shown. This has been a trend. And to quote another, I think, old soul, what's his name? Cat Williams, the great comedian. If you even know a little bit about history, you know that everything kind of repeats itself. It's just nothing is new, just like fashion recycles itself. Nothing new. That is to say, guys, I know I've gone on sort of a long tangent, and it's a long-winded way of saying that I don't trust whatever's being spoon-fed to us. Examples I will give you is even as a youth, even as a child, when I used to hear on the telly, that breast milk was inferior to formula, I was like, so God made a mistake? I'm not a religious person, but I am a person of faith. And I do believe in nature, and I do believe in God, that there's something greater at force here. I don't have the same type of faith for humanity that I have in Mother Nature. I know that she is wise, that she is perfect, that she is expansive and experiencing herself in real time through us. So to start to chip away at her, to start to almost begin this campaign of like discrediting Mother Nature struck me even as a youth. And I was like, that's weird that God would make a mistake, and that man can make something that's better than breast milk. And it turns out now, and it can be proven time and time again, through actual true studies, scientific studies, data that has not been hoarded out, meaning, paid for by big pharma, but actual like objective science and objective data, that nothing beats breast milk. Breast milk is so potent, guys, that the little ridges that you see on the nipple when a mom is breastfeeding her child, that is her nipple expanding itself, and like that's the nipple actively trying to engage with the baby's saliva, so that the baby's saliva can enter into the mother's body and inform the mother what nutrients the child is in need of. So if the child is low on magnesium or potassium or vitamin D, the breast milk will start to add more of that based on the information that it's getting. This is what, listen, again, if you've listened to my podcast before, and I suggest you go and have a listen, Her Healing Hour, available on all broadcasting platforms. Well, all the major ones anyways, like Google, Apple, et cetera, et cetera. Then you've heard me say this before, that your insides are in consistent communication with your outside. Okay, that's just the way nature works. Every gland, every cell, every atom is communicating with your muscles, with your organs, with your tendons, which are all communicating with the birds and the trees and the air and the water. 100%. Constant flow. That's what life is this constant flow of communication, of information, of technology, etc., etc. Again, this is a long-winded way of me explaining to you guys why I am so saddened to see that water has been attacked by the people in charge. But okay, back to my story about baby formula. So this is not a dig. Let's be clear. This is not a dig to mothers who are struggling with breastfeeding. This is me just saying the people that are spoon feeding us information have motives and agendas, and they have financial gain. When you listen and participate in whatever it is that they are selling you, they benefit financially. It is a business model. And it's altruistic to believe that they're in it just for the sake of your well-being, when they're really in it for their bottom line. You don't have to be an entrepreneur or even a finance person to understand and understand that corporations exist for one reason alone, and it's not to make the world a better place. It is to make profit, to make money for its shareholders and owners, period. Period. Now, some companies are going to operate with more ethics than others, but let's not forget, these people are still just humans. They're susceptible to, again, greed and collusion, because they can't get over themselves when they're offered a home in the Hamptons. They simply can't get over themselves when they have the opportunity to fly private, to have millions of dollars in their accounts, to wear Cartier, Givenchy. Some people live for this stuff and they can't help themselves, right? Not judging those people either. I'm just saying we're humans and we sin. Sometimes we do great things. We even surprise ourselves, and other times we have the capacity to do horrendous things, right? Remember that we have the capability to do as much disagreeable stuff as we do agreeable stuff, right? I'm choosing these words intentionally instead of good and evil, because good and evil are relative at the end of the day, because what's good for me might not be great for you. Bob's your uncle. So that is to say that from that time, from my youth, I was like, this is interesting. And then I remember also kind of feeling similar pause and reservation when there was this campaign for margarine over butter. And again, I was like, but what is margarine? Is it made up of anything that's on the periodic table of elements? Did it come from nature? Like, what is it made of? And sure enough, now, many decades later, as an adult who's had to heal herself from things that society or the West or allopathic medicine has told us is incurable, but that I've actually been able to reverse, I've learned that what doesn't come from nature comes from a laboratory. And what comes from a laboratory, listen, you can You can fool this into thinking, yeah, X, Y, and Z, and this purchase science says this, and this subjective data says that, and so therefore it's fine. Let me just go ahead and ingest this. Let me consume it. Let me put it into my body. This will fall for anything. This will. But what won't is this, your body. You can tell yourself anything that you want. Breast milk is, formula is just as good. It's not. It's not. The body recognizes it as synthetic. You know, it will appease your mind. Buying into and feeding into whatever you're told will definitely give you some peace of mind. Although if you go into your subconscious, or even if you connect to your higher self, you'll find that spiritually there's a lot of unrest, because you know that because you're on a cellular level, even your spirit knows that you've taken in and absorbed and accepted a lie. That's why even as holistic lifestyle coaches and practitioners, and I'm licensed, by the way, we do muscle testing, right? Which bypasses your ego altogether. So if you and I were working together, for instance, right, I could ask you a question and you wouldn't answer. Your muscles would either be inhibited or excited. And that gives me the yes or no. Because now I'm able to communicate with your cells and your atoms rather than your ego. And your cells and your atoms are simply incapable of lying. It just doesn't happen. Whew, look at me getting all dewy. It is warm in this car. It is the summer. I mean, technically we are like 7 or 8 days away from the summer solstice. But it's already really nice and hot in the DMV area. It hasn't been consistently though, but it is now. And this tan, if you guys have been following Takeste and Jones, is courtesy of our trip to Niger. Shout out to Lagos and Abuja. We can't wait to come back. Thank you, Niger. Thank you, Nigeria. Thank you, all of the people that we met along the way on our journey there, from and back. Thank you for welcoming us. Thank you for showing love. Thank you for your hospitality, for showcasing the quality, to me, world-class quality of your fashion, your art, your food. Never mind hospitality. America doesn't know anything about hospitality any longer. Nigeria is the place where we should all go, those of us in the service industry. I consider myself in the service industry as a wellness practitioner, right? Nigerians know hospitality. They know how to take you in, make you feel warm, welcome. They hold space for you. And they are present in a way that, we're just not as much here anymore because we are so distracted. We have attention deficit disorder because of this and constant scrolling. And anyways, so the attack on butter didn't sit well with me. And let's see, another example that I can give you guys would be, well, that's good enough, you know? So I'll just say that I was like, this doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right that people would be discrediting nature, and that that man would put himself above what Mother Nature produces and say that they could produce something better. Personally, I don't want to use the word offensive because then it's my ego. Shoot, it is offensive to me. What the heck? I'm a human. I still have an ego, yeah? It is offensive. Why would you put yourself before Mother Earth, before God, before the creator, the source? Why would you say that you can make something better? Again, that's just me. And I get it. Part of this duality and polarity that we live in this time and space, on this plane, also known as Earth, is that we have to have people that see things very differently so that we can engage in discourse and conversation. So I get it. There are going to be a lot of people out there that disagree. There are going to be some people out there that agree. I understand. This is me just telling you guys a little bit of background as to who I am and why, or how I ended up even in holistic health, right? What I'm trying to tell you is that even as a child, I just simply wasn't buying into all the propaganda and the indoctrination. But trust and believe that I did buy a lot of it, because over the last 2 years, this is the year 2022, I have had to undergo severe reverse indoctrination, or to undo the indoctrination, right? I've really had to come to terms with how much I have ignored and let happen. I've really had to come to terms with all the lies that I had accepted as truths. And I've had to do a lot of rewiring in my brain. And it has been very humbling. And at times it has been very hard, because when you realize that you bought into so much BS that was literally being spewed to manipulate you and to get you to be mad about this, offended about that, to march for this thing over here, it was just all smoke and mirrors and distractions. So I'm still unlearning, genuinely unlearning a lot of the propaganda and indoctrination that I was spoon-fed. And it is very humbling. I've had quite a huge slice of humble pie, and I will continue to eat this humble pie. All right, so that finally, after all that, brings me to water. And why I'm so sad to see this foolala, as Auntie's advice would call it, this foolery, the shenanigans that have been going on with water of late, over the last few years. Let's start with water, or hydration. Let's call it hydration, because that's what they call it, by these manufacturers who also produce colas, okay? Who then sell you these drinks that are orange and blue and purple and every color of the rainbow, and try to pass it off as something that's hydrating. Well, scientifically, anything that has more than hydrogen, anything that has more than 2 hydrogens and an oxygen is no longer water. That's just science. For all of you that were spouting, follow the science, even though the people that were telling us that were telling us to actually be the antithesis of science, which is ask questions and have discourse, but I digress. True science means discourse and objectivity, right? And it's a form of exploring, trying, failing, error, etc., right? Not just, here, take this, swallow it, and be quiet. So that's what water is, objectively. The fact that the government would even allow anyone to call anything that has anything else added to it, because I'll even see when it's not one of the cola manufacturers with one of their fake hydrating beverages, you know, the ones that the sports teams always have. It starts with a G, ends with aid. But now even seeing like water with like a pinch of like flavoring or whatever that's still labeled as water. This is partly how our government's failing us. It's not water. Anytime you add anything to 2 hydrogens and an oxygen, it's no longer water, scientifically speaking, right? So for the scientists, you'll appreciate this. When you add any type of additive to that compound, that formula of H2 and O, you've now changed the chemistry entirely, and it is something else. Even tea is no longer considered water. It's now something else. And anytime you put something else into the water, it straight away activates your digestive system. That is another scientific difference between water and everything else that you try to classify as water. Now, that beverage company that starts with a G and ends with the A, I know they don't classify themselves as a water drink, but they call themselves a hydrating drink. But the only hydration can be had from water. Coconut water is another exception, right? Coconut water is extremely hydrating, and it has plenty of electrolytes. Coconut water, I would refer to you if you were wanting something that was more mineralized, that was more satisfying, and especially if you're suffering from dehydration or diarrhea, I would absolutely refer you to coconut water. Any other time, real spring water that is alkaline is your best ally, period. You can live without food, guys. You can go days, weeks, months without eating. But you can't do the same without hydration. It goes back to what I was saying, what felt like an hour ago now, about how we are primarily made of water, right? Most of you already know this. The number is somewhere between 70 to, I think, 80%, based on who you speak to. But the point is, everyone agrees that we are more than 2/3 water, right? Everyone is kind of in agreement with that. It's just that the number fluctuates. Is it 75%? Is it 80%? Is it more than 80? But the point is, we are water. So that's the thing that we need the most. And quality water, because we came from quality. We came from the source, right? We didn't come from a laboratory. We came from nature. So we need to put back into our bodies what resembles where our atoms and cells came from, which is nature. Not resembles, but literally where we came from, which is nature. So when you find bottle companies or water companies that are man-made electric or alkaline, or are quote unquote water but have a little squirt thing so you can add a little bit of color and sugar, or a whole beverage that is like colored blue or orange, let me be very clear to you. You are not drinking water. You are drinking something else. Now your digestive system is in place, and more importantly, not only have you activated your digestive system, which water doesn't do, it allows for your digestive system to stay at peace and at rest. And you want that. You want your digestive system to be at ease and at rest, because so much energy can go into breaking down these synthetic foods, which never actually get broken down, to be honest, because the body simply doesn't know how to process foreign, right? It's like if an alien came to me now and was speaking to me, I wouldn't know how to process that or communicate or engage with, right? Because we could be speaking different languages, and we wouldn't, our baseline for communication would be completely different. So we wouldn't recognize each other. Well, it's the same thing. The body doesn't recognize these foreign matters, objects, subjects, whatever that you're putting into your body. And so therefore, you're not being hydrated. Instead, what you're doing is you're asking your body to go into hyperactivity mode to try to process and then remove something which didn't come from nature. Because 100% your body doesn't want it. 100%. All that colored stuff, all that fizzy stuff, 100% your body does not want it. If you knew how to do muscle testing and you could ask yourself that, you would know that. If you want to know for sure, meditate and ask your soul. If you're still unsure, hire a licensed coach like myself, and we can help you through that. But the point is, your mind will tell you and appease you, because the ego is here to reaffirm whatever it is that you want to reaffirm, right? Are you fly, cool, thin? Your ego will affirm that. Are you lazy, sluggish, overweight? Your ego will affirm that. What I'm telling you is that your ego is there to basically co-sign whatever it is that you are, you know what I mean, feeling or thinking. That's what it does. That's what the ego is for. Is discerning. It will take away everything else and hyper focus on what you currently feel in that moment, and it will look for everything and filter everything else that doesn't actually co-sign your current mood. Does that make sense? So back to water. What I'm saying is, water is the only beverage, the only thing that you can consume without your digestive system kicking in. And when you allow for your digestive system to stay at rest, right, which water does, you get the benefit of putting all of that energy, instead of trying to break down and process something which it can't break down and process, but it will try, right? And then what happens, by the way, since it can't break down and process, is that this artificial matter it binds to your cells. Then you become inflamed, then your cells start to become overweight and obese, and then the body does the same thing. Not to mention dis-ease and a whole host of other problems, organs shutting down. We can go down this road, but this is about water, and why the campaign to try to classify anything other than water as such and try to sell you anything other than what Mother Nature provided for us as equally beneficial is, to me, a true reflection of how far and how sad we are in civilization. It's really sad that we have come to this space where corporations are happy to discredit Mother Nature, like there won't be any consequences for that. And at the same time, we're living at a time where people are very susceptible to believing that these other things are equally as good and substitutes for, and I'm here to tell you they're not. I'm here to tell you that the body was designed to consume one thing and one thing only, and that's H2O. And if you want to drink something else, that's fine. Some things in moderation are okay. Coffee in moderation, fresh squeezed juice, green juices. teas, all of that stuff is fine in moderation. A cup of wine. A cup of wine, my sense. Senti, ragazzi, oh. Un bicchiere di vino. A glass of wine. Moderation. It's not going to kill you. But primarily what you should be drinking 80% of the time is what you are made of. And you are not made of water that's fizzy. You are not made of water plus added squirt of color and sugar. You are not made of anything else. You are made of water, primarily, 2/3 of you. So source your water well. Source your water with attention and intention, because that is the baseline. Don't even think about exercising, training in, training out, nutrition until you have your hydration sorted. Your hydration is critical. It will help to stabilize your mood. It will help to loosen and hydrate your joints, relax your muscles, keep your skin supple and soft. It will promote oral health. It will promote vision health, organ health. Did I mention mental health? It will 100% improve your mental health. Take it from me. I have suffered for years from depression, debilitating depression to the point where I wasn't even working. Anxiety, and some of those things I'm still working through. Absolutely. The anxiety I'm still working through. These days, I've reversed, definitely dis-ease that was considered incurable, but I'm still dealing with things too. I'm dealing with psoriasis, for instance, right now. Anxiety and psoriasis are two things that I'm really dealing with. Oh, and fibroids, which I'm working on. All of which I'm working on. And part of the way that I tackle these things is by drinking 1 gallon of spring water a day. So, if you're going to start anywhere, if you want to begin your journey, your path back to wellness, back to health, start with Start with the H2O. Don't make me do a song about it. Start with the H2O. Start with the H2O. Start with the H2O, and you'll see where you want to go. That didn't even make sense, but you know what I mean? So, on that note, please, guys, do me a favor, when you're purchasing your bottled water, check to make sure that it has an pH, that it's alkaline, meaning a pH score level of 7.2 or greater. Technically 7.1 or greater. So like brands that would be considered alkaline naturally would be like the Evians, the Fiji. These are quality water brands. Aquafina, Dasani, anything that comes from Nestle, and Essentia, Smart. This is all reverse osmosis water. This is all man-made alkaline water. This is all demineralized water. And why is it important that you abstain, that you steer clear of, that you avoid water that's naked, demineralized, reverse osmosis water? Because when you put something in that's naked, what it does is it will pull the nutrients that it doesn't have, the minerals that it doesn't have now, it's going to pull. So you ingest water that's naked, it will start to pull nutrients from your teeth, from your organs, from your tissues, all so it can give itself life. Because everything is fighting to stay alive, right? All organisms are trying to stay alive. Everything is trying to pull energy at all times. Naked water is no different. So you're either putting water in that's going to take something out, or you're going to put water in that's going to put something in. You want to put mineralized water in. Natural spring water is mineralized because it's gone through volcano, through rocks, through soil, and it's pulled minerals and nutrients, all of which you are made of and live in your body anyways. And you're helping to add whatever it is that you're low on or being depleted on by drinking quality water. If you don't have access for whatever reason to mineralized, true high quality spring water, alkaline water, then I highly recommend you get yourself some sea salt. Take a pinch of sea salt, add it to your glass of water, pray over it, bless it. it makes a difference. Don't believe me? There's a whole book on it, and many scientific studies that have backed up Master Emoto's initial findings that water is a recorder. If you bless your water, it's more whole, it's more harmonious, it's at peace. It is, for lack of a better term, blessed. You placing positive thoughts of love and gratitude towards your glass of water before you consume it makes a difference. That's why our ancestors told us to pray over our food. Food is also made primarily of what? Water. That's right. Your meat, your proteins, your leafy greens, your veggies, your fruit. The bulk of that, just like your human body, 2/3 of that is water. You know what else is 2/3 water? The planet. So you see how there's no separation between us, the food that we eat, the organisms in the world, of the world, and the world itself, because we all came from the same place. The formula was pretty much the same for all of us. That's why there's constant harmony and communication. That's why there's a thing called cycle of life. The cycle of life, yeah, sure, some things eat other things, but there's this constant cycling effect, right? Some things must perish and something new comes, etc. That's harmony. That's part of life. That's still harmony. So to summarize this, yeah, because I know we've been here chatting about water for some time. Trust me when I tell you, I could stay here and chat about water for probably another 2 to 3 hours. And we can, if you want to. Drop it in the comment box below, and we'll come back and we'll continue this, and we'll make this more of a dialogue, maybe even a panel if you guys like. Let me know. Other holistic lifestyle coaches, or just other wellness people out there, yogis, or just citizens who are interested in health. Go ahead and reach out. Let's do a panel. Let's chat about it. Let's take questions. Let's go back and forth, because I'm all about the dialogue, right? Even though for the last 2 years we've been told to hush up and be quiet, I'm saying there needs to be other voices heard. I'm happy to hear other voices. You've taken the time to listen to mine, and I'm grateful. I'm happy to listen to yours. So back to water. When you're sourcing water, right, if you don't have access for some reason, or can't afford to purchase quality bottled water, or you don't live near a spring, by the way, a great resource is findaspring.com, if I'm not mistaken. I'll put it in the description box. And you put in your zip code or your address, and it tells you where there is springs, basically, where you can find springs that you can either buy your water from, or you can take your own bottles there and fill up. Which we should all be able to do, because it's nature and it's all God's anyways, or the creators, or the source. I don't know how companies and entities get the rights to these things, but anyways, money. Oh man, money. If you can't afford and you're not near one of these springs, buy at least some good quality sea salt. The gray stuff, the Celtic sea salt. That's super mineralized, that's super healthy. Drop a pinch into your glass of water. Pray over it, consume it. Bob's your uncle, you're laughing. I promise you, you are laughing. You are doing for your body more than the average person. 100%. I stand by that. 100%. Check out Master Emoto's book, Your Hidden Messages in Water. Read the book, You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. I'll link them down below. Get yourself some sea salt. Also check out findaspring.com or .org. Either way, it'll be down below. And change your entire life. Try it for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Drinking a gallon of spring water a day that you have blessed, that is mineralized and nutrient dense. Tell me if I'm wrong. Have your own clinical study and research. Come back to me. Let me know. Do you feel better, worse, the same? Better, worse, the same. And what else did I want to tell you guys? I wanted to end off on one more thing. But now it's poof, gone. Do you hear the rain? The sun is starting to go down. I'm still sweating profusely. And the rain's coming down. It's actually it's a cool sound. I wonder if it translates. To you guys on the other side of the phone. That little pitter patter. All right, since I can't remember my last point, tap into the resources below. There are documentaries on this. Universities have confirmed what both of those books that I mentioned. You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. Hidden Messages in Water have confirmed what both of these authors had ascertained. You know, the studies that their clinical studies and the outcome of their own clinical studies. These studies have now been proven over time through various different institutions. So you're in fairly good hands. And also just remember that whatever I'm offering you, I can't speak for anyone else out in these YouTube streets, but what I'm offering you is what I've been doing and living with for a long time now, for over 10 years. So I'm not new to this, I'm very true to this lifestyle. And it has worked, and I have seen impact, and that's why I'm sharing it with you. Because we need more healing. I say this to all my students when I teach yoga. When you do better, I do better. It doesn't behoove me to keep it from you, because actually it pains me to see people suffering. And it pains me to see what's transpired over the last 2 years and how many people were put in just inhumane positions, rock in a hard place, having to choose certain friends or families or taking certain things versus not, or their livelihoods. None of that brought me joy. It doesn't bring me joy now. So whatever I can to help alleviate, to do my part, to share information, to help people find their own wellness and healing again, to empower you. Because if I do my job, you'll only need me for a period of time, and then boop, boop. Can Western medicine say the same? There's a place and a time for Western medicine. I'm not saying it's all bad, but generally speaking, we know that their business model is to keep you needing them, right? It's a business model. I have a business model as well. My business model is that you work with me for a few months, you do so well that you're on your own 2 feet, you don't need me again, that you refer someone else to me so that I can help them. Once I've helped them, they refer somebody else to me, etc. That's my business model. I don't want to be working with you for the next 3, 5, 10, and 15 years. I mean, if you come back to me every so often because you need a tune-up or something major has happened in your life and you need sort of a reset, that's fine. But I don't want you stuck to me and needing me the way that allopathic medicine wants you to need them and re-up every single month for the rest of your life. I don't want that. I genuinely don't. Again, why? Because I understand that when you do better, when you're healing, when the planet's doing better, I benefit from that, because we're all nature, we're all in constant communication, and more importantly, we're all connected. When I say we're in constant communication, is because I'm telling you that we are one. Scientifically, we are one. We are tethered to each other. All of us, every human, every animal, every organism is tethered. That is why I have a genuine vested interest in seeing you do better. I just remembered my final point. If you're not consuming a gallon of water a day, for whatever reason, maybe you're not very active, or maybe you just can't stomach it because your body's not used to it and you need to build up to it, then what you should be drinking is half of your weight in pounds converted into ounces. Half of your weight, current weight, take that weight in pounds, divide it by 2, and then change that number into ounces. So if you're 100 pounds, you would divide that by 2. You would get 50 ounces. If you're 200 pounds, you divide that by 2. That's 100, right? So you would then drink 100 ounces of spring water, or at the very least, water that's been blessed and mineralized with a pinch of sea salt. You shouldn't even taste it. All right, that's it. You guys can barely see me now. I'm fading into the background because she is what? She is black. Sorry, inside joke for those of you that have been watching the Niger vlogs currently on Takeste and Jones, because you know that I was called a half caste and white more times than I care to mention. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go. And thank you so much for tuning in. And if you want some more of this, let me know, because I will give you whatever it is that you need and want. That's why I'm here. Let's keep this conversation going. Thank you for your support. Bye.